entire like theory of street level bureaucrats. He draws a lot from police and social workers and inspectors, but it clearly applies to planning if you were doing any type of, community outreach or doing or field visits. So we were doing it, and the one thing that Dan and I and others have done is we gave it a definition, we gave it a formal name, we declared it exists, and we're saying it's on par with all the other forms of planning theory and practice that are out there, right? So we've just formalized it. The blowback that I got and the institutional resistance that I've seen, particularly from my experience, but also hearing it from others, is a multifaceted kind of array of concerns. So what I heard were things like, again, mind you, this was branding management that was hired from outside and had a particular, as we came to find out later, had a particular bias against the county because the county was considered slow and dumb and lumbering, and this new director was going to come in from an outside jurisdiction to whip us into shape. So with that, there was an imperative about command and control structures, and this particular person who's still there as a director, he instituted kind of a command and control structure that goes straight back to rational planning and the origins of the original technocratic approaches. With that command and control structure, when this person found out about what I was doing back in 2018 and brought me in for all kinds of disciplinary matters, I was told, we can't see what you're doing, and for that we don't like it, right? So it was the absence of supervision that was a concern. I don't think it was a matter of like, we don't know if you're being ethical. I simply think it was a matter of control. Because had I been unethical, I would have been called out by the community. But I had been there for, by that time, over 10 years. And the community absolutely loved this idea. The community of Florence Firestone, where it was co-created in South Central LA, loved embedded planning. So there was no concern from the community. The concern was, we can't see, we can't supervise you, we can't stare at the back of your head, sitting at your chair. I can't look over your shoulder to make sure that you're working on that site plan, stuff like that. I was also told that this was too political, what I was doing. Those were the words that director told me in the disciplinary meeting. What you're doing is too political. And the truth is, all planning is political. When we do something as review a setback modification to add a patio cover to someone's backyard that might be 2 feet closer than what the setback normally requires, that's a political act because it's gone through a political process, it's gone through a democratic process, it's been up for public comment and discussion, it could have been opposed, right, establishing those setbacks. So even the most mundane act of planning like that is political. So what I was doing was all part of the politics of planning, but this particular director said it's too political. Everything we do is political, folks. So as planners, just know that going in. So it was about politics, it was about the lack of supervision. There was also this allegation that, well, we don't know if the Board of Supervisors, which is the equivalent of the City Council in the county unincorporated communities here, we don't know if the Board of Supervisors likes this. And my response was, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and we've boosted engagement. I've never been called out. We've only been appreciated by the Board of Supervisors. So there is no problem there. But it was this fear that this director had, and still has to this day, according to my colleagues who still work there. This person is very protective of their job security. So anything that looks like it didn't come from them, or it's not driven by them, it's a threat. And it's something that could be maybe or maybe not down the road harmful to them in their career. Other reasons from outside of my experience, I've heard that it's hard to track billable hours, it's hard to create a balance between being in the office and being in the community. The budget part of it is really hard, how do you fund it, right? Things like that, and those are all legitimate concerns. The safety aspect is something that has been brought up. Some people said, like, I don't want to be an embedded planner because I don't want to be out there. I don't feel safe. And I'm like, totally understandable. Not everybody has to do this. In the same way that you don't have